Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to answer the question, what is the Air National Guard? So, today, guys, I'm going to talk about the Air National Guard and what we do. I do have my laptop in front of me, so you'll see me periodically scrolling just so I can keep all my notes organized. There is a lot of different material that I did want to hit on, so I will be going back and forth there. So just to give you some background, the Air National Guard, simply put, is the Air Force. So there's three different components of the Air Force. There's active duty, which is what most people typically think of when they think of the Air Force. Active duty, the military, is your full-time job, essentially. There's reserves, where you're part-time, I like to say, and the Air National Guard, where you're, again, part-time. So what makes these three different is just the amount of time dedicated to the mission, I guess. I guess you could put it that way. But all three components do work in unity together. Things like basic training, tech school, deployments, a lot of different training opportunities. You guys are all working in conjunction. So in 1947, the National Security Act established the Air Force and therefore also established the Air National Guard. And so what makes the Air National Guard unique from active duty and reserves is the fact that in the Air National Guard, not only do you have a federal mission, but you have a state mission. So you serve your country as well as your community, basically. And so a lot of times, just to give you an example, if your state had like a natural disaster or, anything like today where, there's kind of some political unrest, if your state needs extra manning or just needs disaster relief, they can deploy the National Guard or the Air National Guard and just support that mission in whatever way they can. So what is our commitment like? So we do drill, which is 1 weekend a month. Our guard unit, I don't know if this is all guard units, but our guard unit typically does a super drill 1 month, so that you get 1 month of the year off. So that month of the year that we have off is in July. So what a super drill is you do, instead of doing just a weekend, you do that Thursday and Friday. So you do 4 days in conjunction. But that's a super drill. And then you have 2 weeks AT or annual training. So you'll come into your job and you'll do your job for those 2 weeks. So the main difference between active duty and the Air Guard, for traditional guardsmen, is the amount of time you're going to be really dedicated to the mission. Active duty, obviously, that's your full-time job. You're going to be doing that every day. And the Air Guard, traditional guardsmen, and reservists, it's more of what I like to call part-time military. There's also a difference in benefits. All right, each state doesn't necessarily have the same educational benefits. I'll attach a link in the bio. Everything that I'm talking about should be universal for the Air National Guard with the exclusion of the tuition waiver. So look at that link in the bio, search and see if that state, if your state has that benefit, if you're not in Connecticut. So for the Air National Guard in general, you have educational benefits, low-cost health and life insurance, VA home eligibility, U.S. citizenship eligibility, there's a military retirement plan, and there's way more than I listed. I couldn't list everything. Again, look at that link in the bio. It should be GoANG, something. I can't remember the ending of it. But real quickly, I do want to focus on the educational benefits because I do think this is an allure for a lot of people. So for the two educational benefits that you get, there's one, the tuition waiver that pays 100% of state school tuition. So that's going to be your community colleges. And in Connecticut, it's going to be CCSU, Western, Eastern, Southern, and UConn. I'm a man of numbers, so I'm going to give you a personal example a little bit later. But the other benefit that you get is the GI Bills. And this gets well beyond my expertise. There's the Montgomery and the post 9/11 GI Bill. Just to give you a little rundown, I take advantage of the Montgomery because I don't have enough days on orders to basically get the post 9/11 GI Bill. So for the Montgomery, it's $392 per month as long as you're a full-time student enrolled into school. If you are obviously if you do have those days on orders, you'll be eligible for the post 9/11, which has a lot more money. That's going to be something you have to talk about with a recruiter. That's way outside of my expertise. So for my personal example, right now I'm going to show you my UConn Spring 2020 bill. I do want to highlight in this, you'll see the tuition is $6,899. So that's the actual tuition that the guard will pay. You'll see there's obviously way more than tuition. There's a lot of university fees that kind of stack up. And if you live on campus, you obviously have to factor that in as well with the meal plan. So now I'll show you my allotments. You'll see, I think the first one is the National Guard tuition waiver. You'll see that it pays that exact balance out from the fees. So you'll see that is wiped. Then I have university grants and Pell Grants, so you'll see there's other allotments in there. But I wanted to highlight that specifically because when I say 100% of the state tuition, that's just the tuition. You're left with the fees, and obviously, again, you should factor that in, considering for that term, the fees were $1,719. So that part, as long as say if you commute, that's really doable. If you get absolutely no other money, you can work while you're in school, and you can definitely pay that. So one of the reasons I wanted to show you that is because I feel that the guard is underrated. As you can see, it's very possible to go to school with minimum debt, or realistically, you can go to school completely debt free. If you exclude the COVID-19 relief funds, obviously that's a special circumstance that they refunded us back a portion of, what we paid for certain things, the housing and the meal plan specifically. You can see that I only paid $15.50 for the semester. That's out of pocket. So out of that $16,062 that was owed for the semester, I paid $15.15. So it's completely possible to go to school completely debt free. Obviously, I got a lot of university grant and I got the Pell Grant money, so you could supplement that if you don't get, say you don't get the university grant, or you don't qualify for the Pell Grant. You can easily apply for scholarships. Very underrated. A lot of people don't apply for scholarships to supplement that. If you're within good standing and you're not getting grant money, you can call your school and inquire if there's extra funds to help you pay for school. I know my mom did that at CCSU. Alright, so I got my recruiter to send me some areas of contention for people desiring to join and things you should really consider before you join in general. I also wanted to talk about some things I personally heard, and I'll start from there really. The one thing I heard, one of the things is fear of war. So first, I acknowledge that the military really isn't for everyone, and especially combat. If this is your concern, I would suggest that you contemplate that and making that decision. And first and foremost, deciding if that risk is worth the reward. Also, I would consider choosing a job where if you do want to join and that's really a legitimate fear, you can choose a non-combat position. And there's plenty of those in the Air National Guard. I will make sure to attach a link of a complete list of jobs available in the Air National Guard, though you should be, make sure that you come into it knowing that it's not likely that, everything that you find interesting will be available at the base that you want. So, the second thing that I see is fear of basic training, people yelling at you and stuff, and just giving up freedom in general. So again, these are both serious things you need to consider before making that decision to join. My guidance for people, fearing the basic training aspect, it's such a small portion of your career that I really won't worry about it. It's gonna fly by. Everyone does it. It sucks. You'll get through it. But 8.5 weeks out of the long career, even if you do even if you're one term in service, one contract in service, it's still such a small portion. So don't worry about it. In general, you will give up freedom joining the military. That's kind of the gig. But I do think oftentimes it's overstated. You are limited in basic training and tech school, along with the trainings and deployments, but it's especially true for guardsmen that you have plenty of time to, go after your own personal goals and interest, and it's even encouraged by leadership a lot of the times. I know personally, one of the things that I wanted to do last semester is wanted to become EMT. I wanted to volunteer in my town, so I was able to pursue that, and obviously it was encouraged. I was even because of poor organization, and I didn't realize that I had drill on the day of my state exams, and we were even able to work that out to where they would let me come in later, and then I did. One day I came in later, and then I just made up another day. So just think about it. You're a civilian for most of the month. You have plenty of time to do whatever interests you. Scoring high on the ASVAB. That's the third one. This one you have a lot of control over. The 4 areas of qualification on the ASVAB are, general, mechanical, administrative, and electrical. There are a lot of great books to help you study, so that would be my biggest advice. Hindsight, I would have probably done a lot better if I had just studied. I did a little bit of it, but not as much as I should have. I scored somewhere between 62 and 65. Although I do think I could have done better, I do think that I do love my job, so don't stress it about getting a high score, feeling that you need the high score to get a job that will be rewarding. It's not true. All right. So now I'm going to hit on those areas of contention that my recruiter sent me. These things are just important to consider if you are about to make that decision. One is length of training. This is just very important in general. You should be thinking about this if you don't want to miss out on a lot of time in school, and then if you maybe have a job too. This will also hit along another point, so I'll wait to talk about my personal experience later. But in general, your length of training will be based on your job. Everyone baseline has that 8.5 weeks of basic. Where it differs is the length of your tech school. So for example, my job as a 3E6 operations manager has a tech school of between 28 to 43 days, typically. Now considering a job like a 3E0, an electrician, they have a tech school length of 99 days. So it's something to keep in mind. The second point, length of contract. In the Air National Guard, you sign an 8-year contract. This might make you a little bit nervous. Don't worry though. 2 of those years, you're going to spend in individual ready reserves, the IIR. This is pretty complicated. I had to do a little bit of research to talk about it in this video. So I'll leave the link in the description for you to read up on this more in depth. But what this means, essentially, a lot of people aren't really affected by these 2 years. What this essentially is say there's a war, just for example, a war, happens, or the military is extremely low in manning. They reserve the right to basically pull you back in service for those 2 years. And that's basically what the IIR is. So the overwhelming majority just serve those 6 years, and then you have some choices. One, you can simply get out and continue on whatever journey you wish to go upon outside of the military. 2, you can re-enlist for another 6 years. Or 3rd, you have the option to sign an extension. The difference between an extension and the re-enlistment is usually the extension is shorter. I'm actually sure that all times it should be shorter. So if you aren't completely committed to doing another 6 years, say for example, they might be willing to do a 1-year contract with you, and this is all at the commander's discretion. And so re-enlistments and extensions are actually at the commander's discretion. So make sure that you, during your career, always remain professional and work to achieve. 3, fear of missing school. All right, I'm going to coin an acronym right now. So you know how there's FOMA, fear of missing out. I'm going to coin FOMS. It's going to be fear of missing school, because this is real. This is a legit concern for people. This one I could definitely relate to. So when I enlisted my senior year of high school, my recruiter himself can tell you, I was all over the place. My concern was that I wanted to miss the least amount of school, the least amount of time in school. So my strategy was to pick a job I think would, I can miss that minimum amount of time. In my personal experience, it worked out perfectly. I got the job that I absolutely love, and I missed out only on 1 semester. So I missed out on that fall semester, and then I resumed school in the spring of 2019. Sometimes you decide that you want a particular job, and this might require more time is from school. That is completely fine. Remember, you'll be doing this for 6 years, so make sure that you find genuine interest in it. I will add, if you are in college and currently want to finish that school year up, you do have the option in enlisting during the school year, and you could get access to that tuition waiver before you go to basic. So say you were about to enlist before the spring semester, you can enlist and I believe the only requirement is that you pass a PT test, but I can definitely be wrong about that. So definitely inquire about that. But as long as you do that, from my understanding, then you can get that tuition waiver for that semester, and then you can go on to do basic training and tech school in the summer. So that is afforded to you. You won't have access to the GI Bill though, so you won't have access to that benefit. That is something you have to go to basic training for. The fourth concern is job options. This is pretty common, I would say. I even struggled with this at first. So recruiters can only offer you what they have at the base as far as openings. I believe some people come into it again with that mindset that I want a specific job. But I would say that just be open. You never know what you're gonna like. I definitely, coming into it, didn't think that I don't think that I thought that I would love this as much as I do. And so I would pose the question, what is your ultimate goal? I think that helped me narrow my focus. At first I was like, I wanna see what are my other options, and I did inquire on some of those other options. But for me, what really sealed it was, at the time, my mom was in the same unit, the same squadron I am in, and my supervisor, who wasn't my supervisor then, did I meet him at that Christmas party? I met him at that Christmas party, and I think he texted me a couple days later, and he just asked me questions that kind of narrowed my focus. And I was like, you know what? Like this is, my heart is telling me this is the right move to make. I know that, I want to get started with school and things. So, and it was the length of training was perfect for me again. So it was like that's 6 weeks, and I was able to start school at UConn. And so thankfully I listened to my heart and I made that decision. That being said, sometimes it genuinely doesn't interest you, and so you have options. One being, you just wait some time. There will be shifts and openings throughout the year, and if you want to stay patient, you can wait till something else comes available. That is one option. 2, search for another unit and inquire about their openings. If you're in Connecticut, this is kind of limited because I think we're the only Air National Guard unit. There's the 103rd. I know there's Orange, but I think they are technically part of us. I don't know. So I hope I didn't say that wrong. But so there is the Orange base too, and they have job options. But if you talk to recruiters at our base, they're also going to give you those openings at the Orange base as well. So if you're in another state where it's bigger, you can inquire on a different unit on what they have as far as openings. And the last but not least, is not being familiar with the Guard. I didn't encounter this because both my parents were already in the Guard before I did join, but this is something that I've heard a lot. A lot of people are just unfamiliar with the Air National Guard. This usually means for our recruiters, they have to fight harder to get the attention of interested parties, as opposed to active duty, reserves, or even the National Guard, which a lot of people know the National Guard, which is the Army. They don't know the Air National Guard. I know I'm biased, but if you're going to join the military, please don't make the mistake of overlooking the Air National Guard. Please don't make that mistake. From my younger career, I can say that the culture is great, the leadership cares about you, and the opportunities, as long as you want them, can be yours. I'll end on this note, which people close to me have probably heard countless times at this point. My dream school coming out of high school was the Air Force Academy, but I didn't even really want to apply because, one, I feel like I was a lackluster student. My GPA wasn't where it needed to be. Certainly isn't where it is now, and I wasn't involved like I am now. So my second fear is rejection, and that led me not to even think about applying. So after 2 years of almost 2 years, no, yeah, almost 2 years, a couple days from almost 2 years, I have gotten an opportunity to go to the Air Force Academy prep school, which isn't exactly the academy yet. I still need, to prove myself within the prep school, but it's a great opportunity, and it could definitely lead to that ultimate goal of the Air Force Academy. So all it takes is effort, focus, and a smile, and I'm sure you'll be successful. So all right, I pretty much want to wrap up my discussion real quick. If you do want to inquire about joining the Guard, feel free to reach out to me. If you're in CT, and I'll hook you up with some awesome recruiters. It could be intimidating to start this process, especially with the bad raps recruiters get. We all hear those jokes like they don't care about you. And while some people do have horror stories, so like, active duty recruiters maybe, more so this might be, because of the nature of their job. The Air National Guard is different. Their recruiters are recruiting for jobs at their base. They're not really trying to push you into anything that you really don't want to do. I can honestly say for certain, the recruiters at the 103rd, although I don't know all of them, I know a couple of them. They're awesome people, and they really do care about you. As for if you're out of state, my best advice is just to Google local units and just talk to different people, and that should do the trick, really. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe if you found this helpful. Of course, you can hit that notification bell and get notified when I make new content. But all right, folks, that is it for me. Until next time, make sure you stay safe and blessed.